What's up, my Yu-Gi Bros? I'm your host, the one, the only, the RJB0. Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual. Today I am bringing you guys a chain beat deck profile, but before I get to that, we have a video going right here, and that is my entry to the Next Great Yugituber. We still have half a week left to go, and the battle is still neck and neck between me and DualRock88. DualRock88 is a phenomenal Yugituber, so I need all of your help. If all of you just take 10 seconds to click on the link in the description below that'll take you to this video right here and click on that thumbs up button, then that will help me to win this contest. And you guys know that if I win this contest, I am obligated to make a parody of Queen's Don't Stop Me Now and dance to it on video. This is what you will be subjecting me to. Let's get down to the chain beat deck profile. I do have a legacy beat build that I've been wanting to try, but I do acknowledge that the garden beat build is still the better one. Because the garden beat build does not require solely use around traps, because of the existence of Black Garden, the deck has a lot more utility this format. Black Garden provides for some continuous control over your opponent's field. So instead of just relying on single-use traps, you now have something that'll stick around, that you can generate advantage through destroying monsters by battle as opposed to having to just remove things through traps. Let's get down to the deck profile itself. We start off with 2 Banisher of the Radiance because banishing is good. If you get this backed up by Black Garden, you basically win the game until your opponent gets an MST. Second, we have 2 Evil Swarm Thunderbird. Since we're running the Garden Beat build and we have a couple of engines in here and a couple of different monsters that you want to keep on the board, having 3 Thunderbird just isn't necessary, and it takes up space that could be used for other cards that you would rather be using. Since Thunderbird can only be used once per turn, you don't want to have multiples of it necessarily, so I only run the 2 for the Thunderbird. Wind Up Rabbit, however, can be used as many times per turn as you want, so I run 3 of it because it's just something you want to start your game with. I run 1 Bear because I run 2 Tankies, and Bear is a good way of removing problem cards. Ryo is an amazing card in the Cliffort matchup, particularly under Black Garden. If you have a Ryo and a Black Garden and a couple of back row, it's really tough for your opponent to beat you. Then I run 2 Myrmelio. I've considered running a full-scale Trap Tricks engine, but Black Garden makes that a little less powerful. That is all for the monster lineup. It isn't a huge monster lineup, but it isn't a tiny monster lineup. You want kind of a steady stream of monsters, but you only want to see like 3 or 4 monsters in a game, tops. So then we have 3 Black Gardens, the most important card in the deck, and 1 Terraforming. Being able to get to Black Garden early on in the game is incredibly important. I cannot emphasize how important Black Garden is enough. If you open with Black Garden, then you can start off with the Banisher of the Radiance or a Ryo and put down the Black Garden. Your opponent has an uphill battle to face before they can do anything, really. I run 1 Book of Moon because it's a really good offensive card in this deck, especially if you have a 1950 attack point Thunderbird. You can use it to run over big boss monsters like Winda, which is tough to get rid of because it can't be destroyed. Notice that there's very little actual destruction in this deck besides Ryo and the Raigeki that this is supposed to be. There we go. That's supposed to be a Raigeki. So there's really very little destruction in this deck, aside from the mass destruction like Raigeki and like Torrential and Needle Sealing. So you normally aren't worried about those effects that they get off of being destroyed, but it is something you want to avoid sometimes, so you can use Book of Moon to flip down things like Winda. I run 1 Dimensional Fissure because banishing is good. I run the 2 Tanky because it searches for Bear and Rabbit, and you want to have those things early on in the game. I run 3 Duality because you don't special summon except with Black Garden. And I run 2 Supply Squad because although most of your monsters, your main monsters, aren't going to be destroyed very frequently, your Rose tokens are going to be destroyed fairly constantly. You're going to be crashing your Rose tokens into things all the time, and Supply Squad gives you extra advantage, and that's really important in a deck like this that relies on having a steady supply of trap cards. On to our trap lineup, we have the most important trap of them all, Compulsory Escape Device. Allows you to shuffle monsters into their deck, which is way better than destroying cards this format. Then we have 1 Compulsory Evacuation Device because a lot of decks are going into the extra deck this format. The 2 Fiendish Chains are over Breakthrough Skills because this deck does need to stop attacks a lot of the time unless it's under Black Garden. Attacks can be a problem because you're going to find yourself having to dodge around things until you can get a removal card like your Compulsory Escape Device or like Bear. So you want to be able to stop attacks as well as negating effects. And there's really nothing that's particularly threatening this format that Fiendish Chain can't deal with that Breakthrough skill can. Macrocosmos, because banishing is good. Needle Sealing, because you're going to have a lot of monsters on the field some of the time. Really, all it takes is for you to have a monster and your opponent to special summon or normal summon twice under Black Garden, and Needle Sealing is live. Then 1 Solemn Warning, 1 Torrential, because it's a win condition in this deck, 3 Vanity's Emptiness, because your monsters are really tough to get rid of. The only way your opponent's going to be able to get rid of your Vanity's Emptiness a good portion of the time is MST. And then I have 2 Time-Space Trap Hole. I do side the Bottomless Trap Hole, but these are for the Mermelias. It's good in basically every matchup this format, except possibly the Satellar Knight matchup. Onto the side deck, we have 1 Banisher of the Radiance, 1 Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Gorilla in case of Decree, 3 MSTs in case of Decree and Skill Drain, 2 Forbidden Chalice for the Shadow matchup, because if you are going to be attacking over a face-down monster, and it turns out to be like a Squamata or something, you don't want it to be able to destroy your Macro or your Black Garden. We've got 2 Light Imprisoning Mirrors for the Satellar matchup, 2 Wiretap also for the Satellar matchup, and for the various counter trap cards you're going to be running into, 2 D-Prisons for the Burning Abyss and for the Cliffort matchup, 1 Bottomless for the Cliffort and Satellar Knight matchup, and 1 Soul Drain for basically every matchup except Clifforts. The extra deck you don't really need to talk about a huge amount because you hardly ever go into the extra deck if you do at all, but it's basically just generic rank 4s and rank 3s and then Ophion because stun is good. So that's the deck. I hope you guys like it. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you did, let me know why in the comment section below. And of course, subscribe for more decks, discussion, analysis, and general Yu-Gi-Oh! Shenanigans. Thank you guys for watching. I am your host, the one, the only, the RJB0, and I got a jet. See you guys.